Alright guys, so here's the review of the Pagani Design PD1773. So it comes in the usual Pagani Design packaging, simple cardboard box. Functional, but nothing special, so I'm not going to go into that. You've probably seen it plenty of times before. And here's the actual watch. So it's been a while since I've checked out Pagani on the channel, but when I saw this one, I really liked it. I thought I'd got to check it out, see if it's any good. You can see we've got this blue colour on this one, but it's also available in a black and also a salmon kind of colour, which they call yellow. I'll pop some pictures on screen so you can see what they're like, but obviously link will be down in the description if you do want to check it out. But before we get into any more detail, let's go over the dimensions on this. So we've got a diameter of 38mm, thickness of 13.1, lug width of 20, and then the all-important lug to lug is coming in at 45.2. So some pretty nice dimensions there. In terms of weight, with all the links included, it's about 139 grams, and then size for my 7-inch wrist, it's coming in at 125. So now let's take a look at the watch in a little bit more detail before we get into that dial. So if we take a look at the side first, you can see we've got the sign crown there, and then the double pushers. Then you can also see that female end link, which helps with that compact lug to lug, and you can see as well you've got that really nice distortion from the domed crystal. And now we're zoomed in, you can also see the little polished details on this as well. Mainly brush case with polished chamfered details, and then a few little polished accents on the bezel, and a couple of other places as well. All really nicely finished, no issues at all. And in terms of that bracelet, that's also really nice too. So it's actually a 5-piece bracelet this. So the polished outer sections are actually separate little pieces, separate links, whereas the inner ones are part of that centre link. So that's just the one piece. And then we've got the polished side. When it comes to the clasp, we've got the Pagani Design logo on there. Then it's fold over, double pushers, milled clasp, all nicely done. And then we've got the case back there, which is fairly plain. It's got a couple of little specs around the outside, including the 100-metre water resistance, Pagani Design, and obviously the model number as well. So now let's take a closer look at the dial and talk about that in a bit more detail. So you might have noticed before, we have actually got a sandwich dial on this, which is a really nice touch, do like that. So it adds quite a bit of depth, so those sub-dials are actually sunken, as are the numerals as well. So that means there should be plenty of surface area to get good lume on this. And you can also see we've got a nice little polished chapter ring on the outside of that, which I do appreciate, just a little attention to detail. So when it comes to these sub-dials, we've got the 24-hour over at the 3 o'clock, which isn't my favourite. Then we've got the rolling seconds at the bottom. And then at the 9 o'clock, we've got the 60-minute chrono. Then when it comes to the date window, you can see we've got that down at the 4:30. Would have been nice if it had been colour matched, but it's not too big a deal, I guess. And then, because we've got those sub-dials there as well, we've actually got some of the indices cut off for the 3, 6 and 9. In terms of text, we've got the Pagani Design at the top, the logo and the brand name. And then the only other text on the dial is down at the bottom, where we've got Japan movement. That's because we've got a VK63 in this. And you can probably see there now as well, we've actually got a little bit of detailing on those sub-dials. So we've got like a sunburst effect almost. Just makes them stand out and separate slightly from the rest of the dial. When it comes to the hands, you can see you've got a nice high polish on all of them. And nice proportions too. So seeing as we've touched on it, let's take a zoom out and let's show you this movement in action. So we've got a screw down crown. Nice and grippy, no issues with that. Pop it out to the first position, and then we can change the date. Pop it out to the second one. You can see the second hand stopped, so we have got hacking. And then obviously we can just change the time. Pop it back in, second hand re-engages. And then obviously we just screw it back down. Nice and easy, no issues with that at all. When it comes to the chrono, just push down this top one to get it started. There we go, working nicely. That kind of smooth sweep, almost mimicking an automatic. Press it again to stop it. Press the bottom one to reset. And it's also nicely aligned as well. So now let's check out whether that nice domed crystal is actually sapphire or mineral, using the trusty diamond selector too. And yep, we have actually got sapphire crystal, so always good to see, especially at this kind of price. So now this is probably the bit you've been waiting for. Have we actually got better lume due to that sandwich dial, or is it going to be the same as every other Pagani, where it's pretty much their weak point? So let's charge it up, give it a proper chance. And there we go. So initially, it's actually pretty good. So we've got that nice green glow. Apparently it's C3. And it's pretty consistent across the hands and the indices. But you probably noticed as well, we haven't actually got anything on the chrono hands. No lume on them at all, apart from the actual main hand at the top by the 12. Also, you can see we've got the cut-offs when it comes to the 3, 6 and 9, because they've been truncated due to the subdials. Personally, I would have preferred it if they just put smaller markers there as opposed to the cut-off numbers. I think it looks a little bit odd, but I guess that's personal preference. But in terms of the actual lume, you can see on the numbers it is beginning to fade already, unfortunately. So, as with a lot of other Paganis, as I say pretty much every video, the lume is still their weak point. It's something they definitely need to start improving. The lume on the hands you can see lasts a little bit longer, but not a great deal. I think I speak for the majority of people when I say we'd be willing to pay a little bit extra to have some decent lume, because it's not going to be that much more, because the likes of Steel Dive can do it, Addy's Dive, they're around the same kind of price as Pagani. If they can do it, there's no reason why Pagani can't. And if they did, I think it'd take their watches to the next level, because everything else about their watches is actually pretty good, but the lume is definitely holding them back. This is part of the reason why I haven't reviewed a Pagani on the channel for a while. I was hoping, because it's been a while, they might have improved it in between, but unfortunately they haven't. So now, all it's left to do is show you what it's like on wrist, and then we'll go over the pros and cons of this, so you can decide whether you want to pick one up or not. So, here's what it looks like on my 7-inch wrist, and it does look really good. And it wears really nicely too, with that nice compact lug to lug. And I just love all the little polished details on this, on the bezel, on the polished chamfers, little bits on the bracelet, and obviously that little bit on the chapter ring on the inside as well. They all just catch the light and just make it look like it's a more expensive watch than it actually is. And I do really like the fact that they used a proper solid 5-link bracelet. So they're all, well, more or less all individual pieces. And obviously that female end link is also good too. When it comes to the clasp, yeah, the outer shell is pressed, but it is actually a milled clasp. You got a decent level of micro just as well, so you should be able to get a good fit. But now let's get onto the bits of this watch I don't like. You probably know the main one already, because I did kind of ramble on about it a little bit during the lume shot, and that is the lume. It's just not good enough to compete against other brands around the same kind of price point, as I mentioned earlier. And as you've seen, the rest of the watch is really nicely done, so that just kind of lets it down. If they could just improve that, I think it'd be a great watch. As it is, it's a really good one, but it's not quite great. Other slight issues I have, perhaps we could do a little bit more AR on that crystal. It's slightly reflective, but not overly so, I don't think. The only other real thing is that date window. I would have liked to have seen it colour matched, but again, it's not a massive issue, I don't think. Or at least not for me personally. Let me know down in the comments, is that a deal breaker for you? So if you are still interested in picking one of these up, link will be down in the description as always. That is an affiliate link, will help support the channel, but you don't pay any extra. But that's it for this one guys, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.